Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Jazz Albums Review Series. And today I'm going to be taking a look at the very small and impressive catalogue from one of the best bands ever assembled in recent years, led by perhaps the greatest and most iconic guitar player of all time. And I'm talking about, of course, the one and only legendary Grammy award-winning guitarist slash bandleader slash composer Pat Metheny. And we are going to be taking a look at one of his most recent projects, the Pat Metheny Unity Band slash Unity Group, which features longtime collaborator and drummer Antonio Sanchez, bassist Ben Williams, saxophonist Chris Potter, and multi-instrumentalist Giulio Carmasso. And this would mark the first time in over 32 years that Pat Metheny had recorded with a band that featured saxophone. And the last time that Pat Metheny made an album like this was back in 1980, when he recorded and released the double album 8081, which featured saxophonist Michael Brecker and Dewey Redman. And Pat Metheny had not recorded another album like that under his name, but he has always played and collaborated with some of the best sax players in the world. He collaborated and worked very closely with Michael Brecker for a lot of years, all the way up to his passing. He has played with David Liebman, Giulio Redman, Donald Harrison, Gary Thomas, Kenny Garrett, and of course recently with young saxophonist Logan Richardson, and live he played with musicians such as Marcus Strickland and David Sanchez. But he never recorded another album under his name with a sax player. And of course, how can we forget the co-led project with avant-garde guru himself, the late great Ornette Coleman, in the aptly named album Song X. But again, Pat Metheny had not recorded another album with a sax player under his name. But the seeds for this project were planted in 2007 when Pat Metheny and Chris Potter played on Antonio Sanchez's debut recording, Migration, on a track called Arena Sand. And it was quite obvious that from the first notes that Pat Metheny and Chris Potter played together, that something special had occurred, and you knew that these two were definitely going to be doing something. But it wasn't until 2012 that would finally take place when Pat Metheny announced the formation of a quartet called the Pat Metheny Unity Band, which featured drummer Antonio Sanchez, bassist Ben Williams, and saxophonist Chris Potter. So for me, this was very special. And when you've got two guys like Pat Metheny and Chris Potter playing together, you knew big things were coming, and big things we got indeed. So the Pat Metheny Unity Band started out as a quartet, then it expanded to a quintet as the Unity Group with the addition of multi-instrumentalist Giulio Carmasso. So we are going to be taking a look at all three Unity recordings, and as always I am going to be talking about each album individually, and I'll be choosing which one I think is the best one. So we're going to start with the first album, which was released in 2012, and this is simply called Pat Metheny Unity Band. So as I mentioned, the Unity Band is a quartet featuring Pat Metheny on electric and acoustic guitars, guitar synth and orchestronics, Chris Potter on tenor and soprano saxophones and bass clarinet, Ben Williams on acoustic bass, and Antonio Sanchez on drums. Excellent album, great songs from start to finish, all written and composed by Pat Metheny, great production, top-notch playing. What more can you expect from musicians of this caliber, led by perhaps the greatest guitar player of all time in Pat Metheny? So we've got New Year, Roof Dogs, Come and See, This Belongs to You, Leaving Town, Interval, Waltz, Signals, Orchestrion Sketch, Then and Now, Break Dealer. Excellent album. I went to this tour and I saw the Unity Band at the Barbican in London, one of the best Pat Metheny shows I have ever been to, and sadly I never got to see Pat Metheny with Michael Brecker, but having Chris Potter on stage with Metheny helped fill that void. And for me, Chris Potter is at his absolute best in this sort of setting, and this is some of his best sax playing ever. Antonio Sanchez, what can you say? He has played with Pat Metheny in virtually every setting, and he continues to get better and better. And Ben Williams, he's just an incredible bass player, and this features some of his best bass playing. So the standout tracks for me are the gorgeous New Year, which opens up with Pat Metheny playing acoustic guitar. Beautiful track, very reminiscent of 8081 with Michael Brecker. The Wild Roof Dogs with Pat Metheny on guitar synth and Chris Potter on soprano sax. Just a monster sound these two create together. Very similar to Song X, Red One, trio version. You know, there's lots of influences there and lots of similarities. Just an outstanding track. And another favourite track of mine is Come and See, which sounds very similar to PMG's So Mate Secretly Begin with the bass line. And the thing with the opening of this track is it features Potter on bass clarinet and Pat Metheny on 42-string percussive guitar. And on paper, those two instruments shouldn't even be in the same room together. But when you get two musicians like Metheny and Potter, they just make it sound absolutely gorgeous. And it sounds like the intro to Into the Dream. It's just absolutely beautiful. And another favourite track of mine is the long, epic Signals, which is just wild, big, epic, and it just continues to get louder and louder and bigger. And for me, it's kind of like a meeting of Steve Reich and the Pat Metheny group. It's very, very similar, and everybody just sounds incredible on this track. And to me, it's probably the standout track of the entire album. And I remember hearing them play this in the front row, and it was just blew me away. It was just like this great big massive wall of sound, and I was just pretty much pinned to the chair. You know, it was just incredible stuff. And of course, another favourite track of mine is Break Dealer, which features an incredible drum solo from Antonio Sanchez. But what can you really say? Every song on this album from start to finish is just top-notch stuff. And for me, this is one of the best bands Pat Metheny has ever had. So there you have it, Pat Metheny Unity Band. So the Pat Metheny Unity Band would expand into a quintet as the Pat Metheny Unity Group, the addition of multi-instrumentalist Giulio Carmasso. Now, Giulio Carmasso, to me, is perhaps the most versatile multi-instrumentalist that Pat Metheny has ever worked with. And you think of all the great multi-instrumentalists Pat Metheny has had in his band over the years. Pedro Aznar, David Blamiris, Mark Ledford, you know, to name a few, you know, Richard Boner, Kung Fu, you know, those guys could play just about anything and everything. But Giulio Carmasso, at the core, he is a piano/keyboard player, and he adds this very soothing, lush sound to the Unity Band. And it's very similar to the Pat Metheny group, which is no surprise because Giulio Carmasso, of course, sings and he plays just about anything and everything. So fast forward to 2014, the Pat Metheny Unity Band is now the Pat Metheny Unity Group, as I mentioned already, and this is their album, Kin. So again, this is a very different album to Unity Band. Unity Band was kind of more like a jazz sort of quartet recording. This is very much in the cinematic style of PMG, but with the addition of a sax player. So kind of imagine this. Imagine if the Pat Metheny group had a saxophone in the band. It would sound something like this. So very different, but at the same time, all good, and it's all Pat Metheny, and as you'd expect, top-notch stuff from perhaps the greatest of all time. So the band is now a quintet. We've got Pat Metheny on electric and acoustic guitars, guitar synth, electronics, synths, and orchestrionics. Chris Potter on tenor and soprano sax, bass clarinet, alto flute, and bass flute. Antonio Sanchez on drums and cajon. Ben Williams on acoustic and electric bass, and Giulio Carmasso, wait for it, on piano, keyboards, trumpet, trombone, French horn, cello, vibes, clarinet, flute, recorder, alto sax, Wurlitzer, whistling, and vocals. Whew! These guys throw everything out there, including the kitchen sink, and it delivers. Unbelievable stuff. So, as I said, Giulio Carmasso doesn't really solo on this album, but he adds a lot of depth and a lot of lush to the music. And he does play a big role in this album, but it's very, very restrained. And as I said, he adds lots of sounds and textures to the music. And as I said, it's very reminiscent to what PMG were doing in their heyday. And as I said, he adds a lot of piano combing, and it sounds just like, Lyle Mays. It's just incredible. Think of Lyle Mays, Pedro Aznar, and Kung Fu if they were just meshed together, because that's what it kind of sounds like. So, as always, all compositions are written and composed by Pat Metheny. So we've got On Day One, which to me is the most epic track of the entire album, and everybody just sounds incredible. Great sax solo from Chris Potter, great bass work from Ben Williams, and at the climax we've got Giulio Carmasso on vocals, which sounds very similar to the ending of First Circle with Pedro Aznar. An incredible opener track for this album. Then we got Rise Up, again, another great epic track, which, has got great guitar work from Pat Metheny. And Giulio Carmasso, even though he's not soloing, he's very loud and present on the piano. The great acoustic showcase Adasia, Sign of the Season with a great haunting bass solo with Ben Williams with the keyboards playing in the background. Then we got the title track Kin, which has got an unbelievable jaw-dropping drum solo from Antonio Sanchez and great guitar synth solo from Pat Metheny. And the guitar synth is not as prominent on this album as opposed to the Unity Band, so it's kind of been shelved for more traditional guitar playing, which is fine. Pat Metheny sounds great on every guitar he plays on. Then we've got Born, which sounds very similar to Pat Metheny's classic duo recording with Charlie Hayden, The Missouri Sky. Beautiful, haunting track. Then we got the little nod to Ornette Coleman, Genealogy, which is like 30-something seconds long. Then we got the very commercial We Go On, which for me was a track that I initially didn't like at first, but over the course of time it slowly started to grow on me, and it features an unbelievable sax solo once again from Chris Potter. And this track could very well be the most commercial track that Pat Metheny has ever recorded, and it's something that could easily have fit in with the smooth jazz sort of style of music. And it's a very good track. I remember Jazz FM used to play We Go On non-stop, and it's a very poppy track, but again, it just shows you the kind of musician that Pat Metheny is and how highly versatile he is. He's not afraid to try different styles of music, and he does this once again. And as I said, We Go On, not a track I initially liked, but it slowly started to grow on me. And then we've got the gorgeous closer KQU, which is just absolutely beautiful, and it sounds like something that could have come from 8081, and Chris Potter really channels in the spirit of the late great Michael Brecker, and it's just a really good track and a great way to close what I think is an epic album. So, as I said, the Unity Band album, more of a jazz sort of quartet recording. Kin is kind of like PMG with a sax player, and it just combines the best of everything that Pat Metheny has ever done. So that's the Pat Metheny Group, the Unity Band, all the trio stuff, his work with Ornette Coleman, orchestrion, everything about it. And the orchestrion plays a very big role in this album. And in a way, it's kind of like the sixth member of the Unity Group. So you've got 5 guys, 5 players, and you've got the orchestrion. So that makes it 6. So the orchestrion to me adds such a huge, big sound to the 5-piece band, and it's just absolutely incredible. But the way Pat Metheny incorporates the orchestrion, you would think there are about maybe 7 or 8 guys playing in the band. So you'd think there's like 8 or 9 guys playing. It's just really, really well done and very clever and a very unique way to how Pat Metheny incorporates the orchestrion into the music. And a lot of people probably have said that there's not much of Pat. There's a lot of Chris Potter, but not much of Pat. If you've been to see Pat Metheny's shows, it's all Pat. No matter if he's soloing or not, his influence and his playing is felt all throughout. So he's all over this album. Even if he's not playing a guitar solo, he's still very much at work doing his thing. And I was very lucky to catch the 2014 Kin tour. I loved the Unity Band tour of 2012. I thought that was an amazing show, but the Unity Group tour at Hammersmith with the 5 of them was just absolutely incredible, and to me was probably the closest thing to a PMG show that I had ever seen. It was just absolutely incredible, and it was just 3 straight hours of excellence. Loved every second of it. So there you have it. Standout tracks for me are On Day One, Rise Up, Kin, Born, KQU. Love this album. Really, really good album. Love it. So we come to the next album, and this is a double album, and this came out in 2016, and this is the Unity Sessions. So the Unity Sessions was a DVD that came out, and this is like the soundtrack to that DVD. So it's the Unity group playing in an empty theatre, and this features all songs from both Unity Band and Unity group recordings with a couple of little bonus songs thrown into the mix from Pat Metheny's long catalogue of music. And this came about at the end of the Kin tour. So Pat Metheny took these guys into an empty building and just had a few equipment set up and just played and recorded all of this. And it's kind of like a live album, but with no audience, but it still sounds fantastic. So Pat Metheny on acoustic and electric guitars, guitar, synth, electronics and orchestronics. Chris Potter on tenor, soprano, saxes, bass, clarinet, flute, and a little bit of guitar as well. Because I remember he did play a little bit of acoustic guitar live. Antonio Sanchez on drums and cajon, Ben Williams on acoustic and electric bass, and Giulio Carmasso on piano, keyboards, trumpet, whistling, and vocals. So good stuff here. So we've got Adasia, Sign of the Season, This Belongs to You, Roof Dogs, Cherokee, which is like a duo track with Pat Metheny and Chris Potter. Genealogy really gets her full workouts here, and it's a bit longer than the studio cuts. It's like 2 minutes long. Then we've got On Day One, Medley, which is an acoustic solo track of Pat Metheny just playing all of his classic songs on solo guitar by himself. Probably the highlights of the entire track. Then on the next disc, we've got Come and See, Police People, which features a great Antonio Sanchez drum solo. 2 folk songs, part 1, with Chris Potter really channeling in the spirit of Michael Brecker. Born, love the studio version, but I love the Unity Sessions version more. It just sounds much more thick and bigger. We've got the title track, Kin, again features a great drum solo from Antonio Sanchez. Rise Up, great guitar solo from Pat Metheny, and a great guitar drum duo workouts with Pat Metheny on fretless guitar, which was an instrument he debuted on PMG's Imaginary Day recording. So he brings that out of Mothballs, and we've got Antonio Sanchez on drums in Go Get It, which kind of sounds like a death metal version. So Pat Metheny really shreds it on fretless guitar. So standout tracks for me are Born, Come and See, Kin, Rise Up, On Day One, Roof Dogs, and probably my favourite track of the entire album, Medley. Just love it. It's beautiful. About nearly 11 minutes long, and you know, it's just gorgeous. For me, it's the highlight of the entire album, and it's very similar to Solo from More Travels from the Road to You recording. It's kind of like that, but it's lovely. I think it's a beautiful track, and it's the best track of the entire album. So there you have it. Pat Metheny, the Unity Sessions. Good stuff. It's just a double live soundtrack of the DVD, but still worth having. So, which album of the Unity recordings do I think is the best one? If the other 2 had never come out, I would have said Unity Band, but when you've got 2 other albums that come out after, it's kind of hard to choose because they're all good. But I love the Unity Band album. I think it was a great quartet recording, but I'm going with Kin. It's brilliant. It's like an expanded Unity Band, renamed the Unity Group, and it really captures the spirit of the Pat Metheny group with the addition of Giulio Carmasso, who's just all over this album, even though he doesn't actually solo, but he adds a lot of depth and lush and warmth to the music. Pat Metheny and Chris Potter just deliver unbelievable solos. Sanchez even gets a look in with some great drum work and great bass playing from Ben Williams. He's really grown into a terrific bass player. He was showcased very well on the Unity Band recording, but I think he really got bigger and better with Kin. So props to all 5 of these guys. Unbelievable recording. Great show that I saw. So I'm going with Kin as the best of the 3 Unity recordings. But they're all good. And for me, as I said, The Pat Metheny Unity Band / Unity Group, one of the best projects Pat Metheny has ever had, and perhaps one of the best bands Pat Metheny's ever put together. I mean, he's had a lot of great bands over the years, but I would probably put the Unity Band up there with the Pat Metheny Group. You know, it's a little bit different in some cases, but I love it. And Kin, to me, is the best album that they've done, you know, in their short existence, but I loved it. So there you have it, all 3 Unity recordings, and my favourite, Kin. Brilliant stuff. So that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What's your favourite of the Pat Metheny Unity recordings? Is it Unity Band? Is it Kin? Or is it the Unity Sessions? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Jazz Albums Review Series. So until next time, take care everybody, and stay safe, and once again, thanks for listening.